Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to today's episode of Business Basics with ActionCOACH Campus. And my special guest today is Janet Godwin. She is the newly appointed CEO of ACT. Am I saying that correct, Janet? Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And you didn't just, Janet, this is exciting because you didn't just come from the outside, from like the East Coast or the West Coast, but you worked your way up, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, literally have worked my way up. I started at ACT right after graduate school and started in our test development unit, developing assessment content for the ACT, and started there and loved the organization, worked through many different parts of it, test development for many years, research, operations, information technology, supported so many different projects over the years, and literally worked my way up from an entry-level position to now being the CEO over a 30-year period. And it's been exciting. I've been involved in literally every major change initiative the organization's been through in the last few decades. And I think has been a really, really great preparation for the role that I have today. So it's very exciting.
That's fantastic. And Janet, like you said, you've seen many changes at ACT over the 30 years, the growth of the campus, the remodel of the campus, and just the internal changes that you've experienced. And now you're in this leadership role. So tell me how do you work with your staff during this COVID craziness? Because I think you mentioned ACT, the campus has been closed really since March, right? So how's that impacted ACT? Yeah.
So no, great question. So just starting with that, yes, was as many companies did. We moved our workforce online, working remotely since about mid-March. Started the handfuls of people, small numbers, have been still working on campus, literally less than 20. Just doing things that just have to be done on campus. Started slowly this fall, bringing a few team members back. And after the new year, we're hoping to kind of gradually bring folks back. But for the most part, Lee, we've done just fine. Our team members have adapted. We support each other. We stay connected on Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever platform is available. And we're just very focused on serving our customers and rising to the opportunities that have been brought forward because of the pandemic. And so we've been doing a lot of good work, and we'll continue to do so. So it's been interesting. It's been very gratifying, though. We've really risen to the occasion.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, just how we all thought we needed to be clustered together. And now because of COVID, we have found, maybe not our first preference, but we're able to work remotely, but still cohesively.
Yes, it's true. And we focus on that. And we've put some techniques in with our team members. I hold regular all team meetings. We found that lots of communication, a lot of transparency, keeping folks knowledgeable of how we're doing, how we're addressing challenges, what we're doing next. That's been the secret, I think, for us to be doing as well as we are through this, is just really frequent and transparent communication. It has been hard. Our operations were impacted, especially last spring when schools closed around the entire country. So we were not able to do our testing programs in the spring and even into the summer. And so it did have an impact on us in our operations and financially, and we had to make some changes to right size and adjust. But what I've learned, first I was the interim CEO starting in May, and now recently named the permanent CEO. The thing that I think that has helped us is that I haven't shied away from just telling the truth, how we're doing,
Right.
folks.
Right.
And if
Right.
we've got challenges, I'm not going to sugarcoat. If I need people's help with something, I'm going to ask directly for it. I'm going to share successes. I'm going to share where we've got challenges and opportunities. And I think that has helped the team, our team of team members, feel connected, appreciated, valued, respected. And that's been helpful, I think, to kind of keep people's morale going, because it's been hard. Not only has it been hard, trying to continue our testing programs in COVID times, but everyone's facing personal challenges too. Students
Hmm.
learning online, maybe personal tragedy with the virus,
Hmm.
maybe spouses or partners or family members who've lost work during this time frame. So there's so many other challenges that just that frequent communication, truthful, honest communication, but trying to always, I'm a very glass half full person, and try to instill, here are the realities of the things that we're doing today, but my goodness, folks, there is some positive things that we're doing, and you're helping us get there, and still finding that sense of energy and excitement, even when the world is, whipping around us. And so I think that's been really helpful.
I agree with that. And those are qualities of a leader, Janet, where we understand where we're at. We have our basis of reality, but and we're not afraid to do the hard work that is going to take us to get to that next
Mhm.
place. Now it's through COVID-19, but optimism, but not so optimistic that we're out in outer space, right? It's like, look, I
Right.
know we're going to get better. I can tell you why we're going to get better. Um, but you have to inspire your team. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
so much of what you're doing is inspiring those team members, and then they take it down a level and inspire their members as well.
Exactly. It's leadership, and it's engagement, but you have to tell a compelling story.
Hmm.
And that story can't be so fanciful that people don't believe it. It has to be grounded in reality and what we're capable of accomplishing. It needs
Yes,
to be big enough goals that is motivating and exciting,
right.
but it has to be within our grasp. And then, really telling that story of where we're going and why. Why does it
Hmm.
matter? How do you individually help get us there? And then using that as a leadership platform, I think is really important. And I obviously don't do this by myself. I have an amazing group of leaders that I work with on a daily basis. We just spent all morning in a strategic planning session. Same kind of thing. Where are we today? But we actually talked about Kodak and what happened to Kodak, right? And so we're
Right.
contemplating our future, while we're dealing with the today, but we're spending good amounts of time saying, where do we want to be in the
Hmm.
next 60 years of this company's history? So, we've been operating since 1959. We've impacted millions and millions and millions of students' lives over those years, but it's changing. The
Right.
the college admissions process and set of
Hmm.
expectations are changing, and we will be leaders in that change, not defending the past. Our goal
Right.
is to lead to the future. And so,
Yes.
it takes intentional time to think about those things. It takes a lot of energy, creativity, and space,
Hmm.
to go through those kinds of thought processes. But then back to the leadership question, being able to articulate that why and what and how, and
Hmm.
then tie it to every individual team member so that they are part of that success going forward. And so it's not easy,
No.
but that's what we're striving to do. And it really does, I think, get back to that leadership question that you were talking about.
Oh, for sure. I mean, as a leader, you are never resting on your laurels. You
Right.
have never made it and now I can relax. I'm at the top. No, that's not how it works. You are always forging ahead and looking to where you're going to be, not tomorrow, but 3 years, 5 years, 10 years
Correct.
down the road.
Mhm.
You have to.
Have to
As
be.
with your strategic plan, that's just the way it works. I
Mhm.
mean, ACT started because they had a vision back in
Yep.
1959 of how can we improve this process. And
Right.
I don't think you've ever stopped. I
No,
mean,
never stopped. In fact, from our founder, E.F. Lindquist, he was very, very passionate about assessment being a way to open doors and create opportunities for students. Unlike at the time, and still our competitor, the SAT or College Board, very initially, not so much anymore, but initially very focused on elite schools and admissions
mm,
to elite. So it was very much kind of helping find the cream of the crop, if you will, and
right.
excluding so many others from that higher ed experience. Our founder was very, very focused on leveling the playing field for all students, finding a pathway to college, which was a pathway to a career and work and financial stability. And
Hmm.
so that founding mission and vision, if you will, really persists today. And I think that even more now, as we see the economic divide and the stratification economically in our nation, the need to provide supports and assets and create opportunities for students to find a pathway after high school that will yield a well-paying job, that they can raise a family and feel,
Certainly.
feel confident and certain. And that mission hasn't changed. Sometimes the pathway is through college, sometimes it's through community college, sometimes it's through other credentialing certification programs. And that's really what we do, is we help students figure out a path that suits them and their needs to something meaningful after high school. And so we're committed to that, we're devoted to it. And as I talked about strategic planning, we're trying to think about, in this changing environment, colleges are under duress. COVID just has exacerbated what a four-year institution has been dealing with. And so their models may need to be changing as well. And so we're very much trying to think about what's changing and how can we be part of that process with that core mission of helping students find that path to success.
Exactly. I mean, education in the traditional sense has been this way for hundreds of years. And now with COVID, if there's a good thing that came out of COVID, it's the fact that we have learned and we are continuing to learn that the way a student receives their education is changing.
Yes.
I mean, it's not in the traditional classroom sense, and it doesn't necessarily have to be anymore,
That's
right?
right. The online learning programs. My son, I mentioned when we were chatting before we started, I have a 14-year-old who's a freshman at City High, and he has yet to step foot on the City High campus this fall semester. He's been in the online learning program since day one. And you know what? He gets a little tired of sitting in his bedroom, but he's doing okay. The teachers have done an amazing job putting these programs together, supporting, finding ways to engage students in this in the online learning program. And so I've been really, really impressed with how our teachers and staff and administrators have really stepped up to the challenge and help students be successful. And I think some of the tools that we're implementing now are going to persist, even when it's safe to go back to school physically. I think
Hmm.
some of the things that we've learned will be part of our toolkit going forward, and we probably will never go back exactly the way we were before. And
Right.
I mean, so, people say never waste a good crisis, right? To innovate and to find new ways of working. And I think we're seeing that a lot right now in the education system in particular. The other thing, though, I think that COVID has really shown a light on is some of those socioeconomic differences that are so prominent
Mhm.
right now. Students who don't have internet, students who
Right.
don't have devices. We've extended in our school district a one-to-one program for literally K through 12, and we accelerated that because so many families and they just didn't have devices or quiet places to sit
Hmm.
and be part of a class online. And so there's just a lot of factors, I think, that COVID has just really shown a light on,
Hmm.
and the digital divide. And I think these are things as a nation, as a community, we just want to be able to focus on and make sure we progress from this, right? So
Right. A whole new set of issues. I mean, that digital divide is very real. I live
very
out in the
good.
country, right? And if I'm stuttering, it's because my internet here is not great, right? But the kids in the classroom who needed to go to that classroom to learn because their home life maybe wasn't such that it was conducive for in-home learning.
Hmm.
Uh, and now, from a state issue, from a governmental issue, we have to address these challenges sooner than we thought we would have to.
Exactly. And I think we're seeing some of the solutions come to bear. And I think, again, never waste a good crisis. There's a lot of organizations around the country who are coming together.
Right.
There is a spirit of partnership that I'm seeing, even in all of the sort of the political discourse that does at times seem very divisive. But there are many organizations doing good work here on digital divide, providing resources. I was just talking to a leader at Microsoft a couple weeks ago, and they've done amazing things around internet access in rural communities, and so many others than Microsoft as well. I mean, there's so many groups that are coming together to try to solve these problems, and I would have to say that's actually been very gratifying to see in this environment.
Leave it to a leader, Janet, to say, never waste a good crisis. I love that. I just love that.
I mean,
It's perfect.
we can all worry and cry and gnash our teeth. However, it's
Right.
just it gives us a platform for change, and
It does.
change is inevitable. So I would rather lead it than react to it.
I
So
agree.
our mindset.
I completely agree. So who have been your leader mentors over the years? Who have you looked up to as you were growing through your organization at ACT?
Oh my gosh, so many. One woman in particular, Ann York, who led our operations group for many, many years. She was a dear, smart, talented, driven woman. And I had the opportunity to work for her for a period of time. And she was very soft-spoken, but steely-eyed. And I learned from Ann how to not have to force my way into a conversation by being the loudest or, talking first. I learned from Anne to sit back and watch, be thoughtful, and then, very, very calmly, quietly make a point. But boy, Anne always made the right point, but she did it in such a way that it was sort of without ego, and without arrogance, and just really, it was just a style that I very much appreciated from Anne. The other thing that I learned from Anne was how to trust the people around me and not feel like I had to do everything. That, she was the vice president of operations and I reported to her, but she was extremely good at building a strong team and delegating and letting the team make decisions. She didn't feel like she had to be the autocrat and telling everyone what to do all the time. And I have a little bit of that in me. I confess to being a strong A-type personality. My Myers-Briggs personality inventory would suggest that a field marshal's probably a good job for me. But I've had to learn, and she was a great mentor that, you don't have to make every decision. In fact, you probably should not. That you create a space where leaders can lead, but that doesn't mean you have to make all the decisions. And so she was really, really influential. I'll say Dick Ferguson, too, is another mentor, and learned from him a little bit about leadership and how to guide an organization to innovate. Under his tenure, we extended into so many different markets and opportunities, and he did so very thoughtfully, and it was always building upon the core of our mission. And I think from Dr. Ferguson, I learned that staying true and core to the mission is really, really important for an organization to stay the course, and not get lost in too many things that are not super relevant to, and I think that's especially important for a not-for-profit like ACT. It's staying relevant to our mission is really, really important. And Dick was a great mentor and leader in that respect. And so there's been so many people that I've learned from, but those two really come to the top of my mind.
Going back to Anne, I think when you're in that leadership space in your head, you gravitate toward that leadership. And then when you're in the room with somebody like Ann York, and you're watching her work, it's better than the movies. I mean, you're going, wow, that's amazing. How do you do that, right?
Yeah, and she would do things and you wouldn't even notice it, and then afterwards you'd be like, oh, wow, she just did that. Okay. I mean, sort of chess play. I mean, she was 5 steps ahead, and but quiet and thoughtful, respectful, but you'd leave a meeting and going, wow, she just dominated. And you would never felt it in the moment, but afterwards you knew exactly what she was doing.
Oh, exactly. And the other thing you touched on too, Janet, was that as a leader, we can't solve 100% of the problem. We have to leave some latitude, 20% for the team to work out, because we got to support risk taking and let them come to those conclusions. They have to.
Yeah.
I mean, they feel included in supporting and developing the rest of the problem and finding that answer for that problem. It's so important.
It's so important. And people make mistakes. We're humans. I make mistakes all
Right.
the time.
Right.
And it's okay. Most of the time, it's okay. Most of the
Right.
time, it's okay. And if there are really, really, really critical decisions that if a mistake is a bad thing, I'll keep that decision for myself. I'm not going to put that on someone else. But
Right.
it's, you know what? It's okay. And we learn from it. And you create a culture of continuous improvement, learning by doing. And then people feel comfortable and safe to take risks, to
Yes.
think creatively, to think outside the box and start embracing change as opposed to resisting change. But it's all through the climate and culture, I think. And I think it emanates from letting people make some mistakes along the way and learn from it.
Oh, so much. I mean, the culture at ACT has always been supporting testing and measuring.
Mhm.
Let's make this fun. Let's try this out. I mean, of course, we do our research and we make sure that it's not going to be totally off the tracks, but test and measure. Let's see how this works out. And
Mhm.
as a business owner, as an executive, if you support testing and measuring and you give them the latitude to make decisions, it can be a fun process. It's like,
Yep.
hey guys,
Mhm.
we're going to learn. We're going to learn through this, right?
That's
And
right. That's right. And
uh,
the culture probably matters most in a way.
mhm.
I was in a leadership program, I don't know, about 5 years ago, and we had a gentleman work with us who had used to lead group expeditions up Mount Everest. And he told a story once where literally they had to make the decision. They were like on the last leg, right up. They were getting ready to summit that day. And then a colleague in a different expedition group fell, hurt themselves, and they had to make the split decision choice to abandon their years worth of preparation to
Mhm.
summit or save this person.
Right.
And they made the choice to save the person. And I mean, and it was not a unanimous decision,
Right.
because some people literally they committed a year and all this money to get to the summit of Everest. But this leader said, I mean, you want to attain your most important goals, but you want your soul to be intact once you get there.
Right.
And so there's something to that really stuck with me, and that speaks to how much we focus on building our culture at ACT. It's not just that we do great things, it's how we work together to do great things.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it matters. It really matters. Respecting folks. I talked about transparency, inclusion, diversity, obviously, of thought,
Hmm.
and it's just creating a culture of trust, and that is what will enable us to grow to the next 60 years of success as an organization. And so it's interesting. I used to work I worked my way up through fairly technical roles. I had a lot of different responsibilities over the years, and the sort of the higher I move up in the organizational structure, the more time I spend on things like culture and
Right.
people and how to motivate folks. And so I don't. Some people are like, what work do you do anymore? Well, I work with all of you to inspire you to do good work. It's
Right.
very different. And
Oh yeah.
but it's great. Culture really, really matters a lot. And
Oh yeah.
we take it to heart. Yeah.
Uh, And what is business? Business is a collection of people with common goals.
Hmm.
That's what we are. I mean, yeah, making money as a side benefit, I get it. Okay, fine. But it's the passion that drives us, right?
That's right.
And
That's right.
that's why we do what we do. That's why you are where you are today. It's because of the passion for learning
Hmm.
and
That's
and
right.
and 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 admission into higher learning so that people can achieve their goals in life because they acquired the knowledge that they needed.
That's right.
I
That's
love
right.
it.
That's it. That's our
I
mission. That's why we exist.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, Janet, I've maybe kept you too long. I apologize, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Lee, for having me. It was really fun chatting today.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Don't go away.
Thank
Hang on.